Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Know-It-Alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are locked and loaded, ready to go. Super excited. It is September 1st. We are in the month of football. Cannot wait. September 9th is kickoff Thursday night football. Can't wait. We're all psyched here. Can't wait. So we're going to be talking about the NFC conference pretty soon. But before we do, where are we getting to?
Oh, well, there's a lot of stuff going on this week. We just had cut day, so we saw teams draw it from about 80 guys down to their 53-man roster. Some surprises out there for cuts.
Definitely
but
surprises.
Probably
yeah.
Nothing more surprising to the football world, I think, out there than what happened when we heard the news when Cam Newton, after they named the starter for the New England Patriots to be Mac Jones, shortly after we hear that Cam Newton was released by the New England Patriots, Joe.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a surprise for us that Mac Jones was named the starter. However, it was a little bit of a surprise for Cam Newton to be flat out cut. And there's some things that we're going to have to bring up about this whole situation, is because a lot of people are up in arms over this. Can't believe Cam Newton's cut, for one, is kind of like a little bit of shock to New England fans, or even Cam Newton fans for that matter. But quite honestly, when you go to look at it for what it is, listen, Mac Jones just flat out beat out Cam Newton for that starting job. And the reason being is because, quite frankly, the New England Patriots, besides what you've seen last season with Cam Newton, this season they wanted to get back to their old school ways of how they ran their offense traditionally. So, and Cam Newton doesn't quite fit that niche at the quarterback position for the Patriots to be able to go back to those, back to the game plans and the offensive plays that they used to call. So, and doesn't do them well enough. So here comes Mac Jones. I know he's a rookie, comes in, and we thought that this was a very big possibility. That's the whole reason why they drafted Mac Jones, because he fits the quarterback position exactly the way they needed a quarterback to do. So Mac Jones comes in, very fast processor mentally, diagnoses the defense, gets rid of the football quickly, is accurate, is more mobile than he looks, and just ended up beating out Cam's, just straight up. So Cam Newton, and here's the thing too, is you got to remember, the reason why Cam Newton got cut is not just because he lost the starting gig, but also the Patriots don't want to pay his salary as just a backup for the New England Patriots. They're looking to try to kind of save some cap space there. So that's another reason why you saw Cam Newton exit New England in favor of the other young quarterbacks like Stidham and so forth. So, yes, people are going to raise their arms and say, well, Cam Newton's a better quarterback than those backup guys. Well, okay, technically he is better talent-wise, but as far as fitting that niche that the Patriots want to get back to on offense, not quite.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got Mike Tackett in the house with us tonight. Yeah,
what's going on, Mike?
Mike, he's there. He says Patriots just signed Garrett Gilbert as QB2, and that's amazing. You want to bring up Garrett Gilbert. I think he did a great job in the preseason. Yeah. And I'm surprised that the Cowboys didn't keep him around because the way they were playing him with the issues with Dak Prescott and the way he performed, I think he did better than Cooper Rush. And they hang on to him and grab them there for Dallas and hang on to him. I think he just outperformed him and would have been a better backup for that situation. So the fact now that the Patriots go out and get Garrett Gilbert, I think that's a great pickup for them. And when you talk about Cam Newton here and the issues, we're hearing things now too that perhaps it was a vaccination issue here where he wasn't vaccinated. He was continuously getting COVID multiple times here. It could be a threat as your starting quarterback to your team or even being on the team. That's why he was released. And Bill Belichick quickly shut that down when he was interviewed by Pro Football Talk today. And he basically flat out, when they asked him if he got cut because Bill Belichick says no. And And, when people try to say also that the fact that Bill Belichick, well, he's not going to tell you what he's really thinking, stuff like that. He would have just ignored it if he was just trying to hide something and do this. He's just telling you straight up, and straight up facts about that. Plus, we're even hearing issues with other players on other teams having issues with perhaps personnel or coaching, maybe saying that they have gotten cut and now is a vaccination issue here, and they're ready to file grievances. But Bill Belichick just says it right there. He's like, listen, and you could see it with Mac Jones. Like Joe and I talked about it before the draft. It seemed like he had all the tangibles that fit this team. We expected them to draft him. They did. And Bill Belichick says, hey, I threw them both out there, gave them both a chance. Cam was our guy until we got our guy here, and we wanted to see how he developed. And throughout the games, especially that Philadelphia game, he started to perform better, and he fits the system better. He fits what they do a lot better, and all they were just wanting to see is how ready he was. And they feel that they're comfortable with him moving forward. And now, they have a few other quarterbacks there now underneath him for a backup just in case. But they feel comfortable and confident in what he can provide. And if you want to take a look at Cam Newton's stats here, last year with the Patriots, this is what they were looking at too as well. I mean, he had a 7-8 record, and he was gone for a little bit because of the COVID. But pass yards, only 2,600 or so. Rushing yards, decent amount there. But look at the passing touchdowns. He had 8 passing touchdowns, 12 running, so he was able to do some stuff on his legs, but then 10 INTs. And when you think of quarterback, you have to think he's got to have more touchdowns than interceptions here for your team, because the QB rating there also as well, 82.9. That's not really successful, and that's not what the Patriots really want to do. They know their system. Cam Newton didn't fit it. They adjusted because they had him, and he was the best quarterback available in the market at the time, and now that's that. Right. Mike Tackett's here with us here again. He says, have you guys watched any of this year's Hard Knocks with the Cowboys? I missed the OG Hard Knocks. No. So much better. Gilbert was great. Will Greer will be a better fit in Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Will Greer, they pick him up after he was just recently cut from the Panthers. So, yeah, I mean, better fit. Works out for the Cowboys, and that's probably why you saw the Cowboys got rid of some of the backups that were behind Dak Prescott, even though they kind of showed some potential. They showed some promise, but, Danucci's another guy that ended up getting cut, and they just cleared the space, and they end up picking up Will Greer. So kudos to the Cowboys. But as far as Hard Knocks goes, no, I didn't check out. Listen, the Cowboys already had a Hard Knocks season. Come on, we can't do retread teams anymore. You got to go with a brand new team. I would have definitely tuned in had it be a new team to Hard Knocks, but to rehash the Cowboys again, I mean, I don't know, man. We've already been there, done that. Let's go to a new franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't watched Hard Knocks in, I don't know, who knows, a long time. I don't watch a lot of TV, so for me, I think I remember the first season when the Cowboys were in it, and then that might have been all I've ever watched was some parts of it. So yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff, but again, you do get to see a little bit behind the scenes and all that stuff.
Which is cool.
I understand. But again, I always said too, I don't understand the whole fact that why are they here? Like, was it a third time now too? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. When there's other teams out there, unless every other team had just said, no, we don't want this.
True.
But as far as even seeing Gilbert behind the scenes too as well, and the way he's played, again, I think it's a great pickup by the Patriots. And like Joe said, also with Cam Newton being able to cut that money too as well. You don't want to have your quarterback paying him this much, and then you've got your starter, less than that as well, and just hanging on to him, especially when I think really when you look at Cam Newton in the back too as a backup quarterback, I don't really see him as that type of guy that's going to be that veteran quarterback, the character that's going to teach your rookie some of the ways of being a quarterback and things like that, and help just to get him more involved and better, and make him a better quarterback.
Yeah, to help him be a tutor for Mac Jones, to help him develop, to help him get better. Like, Mac Jones could come off the field and be like, hey, Cam, what did you see that I didn't see vision-wise? Like, did you see the defense do something different that I didn't see? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Questions that a young quarterback can come over to a veteran on the sideline and be able to ask him. Much like you see the situation in Chicago, whereas Justin Fields is the rookie quarterback. Doesn't seem like he'll be the starter, But in that same situation, if Dalton was still to be there, he could come over to Dalton and ask him, what'd you see here? What did I do wrong? What did I do right? What can I work on? And get some feedback that way from a quarterback, a veteran quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, it's very simple. Patriots moved on from Cam because he didn't fit their offensive system going back a year. They had to make some adjustments, like Jim said. They made some adjustments for Cam Newton to come on board and to be somewhat successful for them. This year, they were looking to get back to that offensive philosophies that they used to really, stay true to. And in doing so, Cam Newton is not part of that equation to fit that mold. So Mac Jones comes in, rightfully wins the job. I mean, did anybody pay attention to the Patriots offseason? I mean, Mac Jones legitimately won that job. Great decision maker, was accurate with his throws, got the ball out when he needed to. And Cam Newton has always been seen as more of a runner, which is not what the Patriots want to do going forward. And here you have it. So Cam's out, Mac's in. Let's go, New England.
Let's go. Here we go. And now Mike Tackett says Cam is a Mrs. Doubtfire with shoulder pads and an ego. The best thing for the franchise was cutting him, and that's the thing too. And that's
and you
what
got that big ego.
Right.
You got the big attitude when things aren't going right, and you kind of saw glimpses of that last season
got time for that.
in pressers after the game when they didn't win, they didn't pull out a win. Cam Newton had a hard time getting rid of getting rid of the football or was too busy holding on to the football in terms of waiting to be able to run. So you saw a lot of situations last season with Cam that would probably have played out better had they had a quarterback that could run their original offensive system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, I mean, that's something that was really gathering the headlines. Again, as far as the vaccinations situation, too, a lot of people were trying to point at the vaccination, say this is the problem, and then it contradicts to what we're hearing now. Because now another aspect of this whole scenario is, where is he going to go? He says over Twitter and everything, he's going to be all right, blah, blah, he's keeping his head up. But instantly you have heard, chatter, like, now maybe the Dallas Cowboys are interested. It's like, maybe if there's injuries with Dak Prescott, how bad is it? Do they bring Cam Newton in? And other teams that are looking for quarterbacks obviously are going to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But then that clashes with that narrative that you're trying to paint here about the anti-vaxxer, and because the Cowboys and Jerry Jones has been really strong about it to where I think is 100% of the Cowboys are. I think it was pretty strong. I know one of those teams went die hard on it.
Yeah, they're not 100%. There's only been one franchise that wasn't the Cowboys.
What was it again? I can't remember. But then again, something Brian Flores and the Dolphins has been hardcore about it too, and all those teams that have been looking for quarterbacks or Deshaun Watson to be available.
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be in the conversation here, but
it is. But
when you look at it and you look at the timing again, I mean, it's cuts. Season's going to start next Thursday,
right.
So I don't think teams are going to say, "Oh, here you go, here's a playbook, and now you're going to be our guy." I think as injuries unfold and here and there or whatever, there might be a potential for him to come back into this league and things, but I think that's more of a sit and wait it out type of deal.
I mean, it's not a thing where like he's banished from the league or anything because he's been cut from the Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, he's most likely he'll get another opportunity, but it may not be in a starter role.
Situation.
It may be come in, learn our system, be our backup in case our guy goes down with an injury.
Right.
And I think it's going to be more about Cam and him to be able to come to that realization of now being in this stage of his career in the latter part, being 30-plus years old. He might have to, kind of swallow that big pill of just coming into that realization of, hey, listen, okay, I've had a good career up to this point. Maybe it's time to, if I want to keep playing and I still have that passion like it looks like he does, then maybe he has to embrace that backup role and become more of a tutor / ready, willing, and able type of guy. So for Cam, I think it might be difficult to get to that decision for him. But when he does, I feel like you'll see a lot more teams out there willing to bring him in, whether it be for workouts, and then if the workouts go well, then maybe they can pull off a signing and get him in there. And if that is to happen for him, that's when you're going to see him take a little bit of a back seat. We know that he's very, flashy kind of guy, loves fashion, loves to be, he has that ego that he likes to maintain. However, I feel like it'll be good for him as a player to grow even further, even though it's latter part of his career. I feel like he can still become a better player for some other team as a backup. I feel like that. And then you bring up teams that could possibly bring him in. Everybody's going to throw this out there, and I think why not is Washington. Ryan Fitzpatrick is there right now. He has been declared the starter, rightfully so. They did re-sign Tyler Heineke for a 3-year extension because they really like the potential in that kid. But after that, there's really nothing there. And if you were able to bring in a Cam, and I understand when you bring in a Cam Newton, it's going your offensive philosophies have to change a little bit. So just like what the Patriots had to do and make adjustments, a team that brings him in, if they need him to start, if he needs to go in, they're going to have to make some adjustments there too and allow him to be him, allow him to be that mobile threat / quarterback. You know what I mean? So a lot of different, situations that can arise until Cam does sign elsewhere, and maybe he just takes a seat and just waits for that opportunity, like you mentioned, an injury with a guy going down, or if a player that they project as a starter doesn't perform very well. I mean, take Ryan Fitzpatrick again.
Right.
If he doesn't perform up to their standards and cannot put points on the board and turns the ball over, then maybe they reach out to a Cam Newton that can shake things up and probably make the offense even better.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're just looking at a Tyler Heineke back there, again, still young and developing, but. That, again, fits like that, but again, I don't think that's going to happen right away. It's going to be more in the future.
No, we got to let the dust kind of settle in terms of all these cuts. Because, listen, teams right now, after these cuts have gone down, now teams are starting to look at
who's out
across
there
the league
right now.
Because there were some surprise cuts. There's some guys that maybe have a lot of talent, but they just couldn't make the roster because that certain position was overwhelmed with talent. So they end up they're out there, free agents right now. Teams are going to be looking to sign some players from other teams. And listen, here's the other thing, too, is just because a player is signed to a practice squad, they can still be signed by another team. The only difference is if that happens, that player has to then go right directly to the 53-man roster, and they got to cut somebody else to make room for him. So very interesting stuff that could happen. So we'll have to stay tuned in the next coming week. And trades galore.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The
past week has
absolutely.
been, and they're not blockbuster trades. They're not like crazy ridiculous, but a lot of highly talented players on the move to different teams once again. You look at the Jets, who they happen to lose their big star-studded defensive end, and in turn call up Houston and be like, hey, we like that Shaq Lawson kid that you have. What's it going to take? Nothing. Okay, here's nothing. We'll take some more talent away from Houston, and then and we'll move on with our day. So there's been a ton of trades. They've been kind of like on the low to mid-grade type of scale. But nonetheless, teams always looking to improve, and it shows you this week how it all unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about looking to improve. I want to tell you about our friends at Mohawk Honda at Freeman's Bridge Road. I get to take a look at this place every time I go to work. I work right almost across the street here at Freeman's Bridge Road every day. At Mohawk Honda, I get to see all the inventory that they have, Joe. Right now, there's a shortage in the market due to COVID and all that nonsense, but not at Mohawk Honda. There's acres and acres of cars, of pre-owned, brand new, whatever you want, different makes and models too, not just even Hondas. Trades, they want your trade. You hear about these other dealers out there say, hey, we want your car right now. We'll give you a top dollar, da, da, da. Okay, sure. Then what happens after they do that? So they give you something. All right, well, you have nothing for me to buy right here. There's not a whole lot of selection. So what do I do now? Now I have to go somewhere else now too. And what are they going to do? Well, why don't you just save yourself all the visits? Go down to Mohawk Honda here at Freeman's Bridge Road. Check it out. They'll give you an estimate on what your car's worth. They'll give you top dollar for it. And then take a look at the car that's out there on the lot. You know, they want to put you in the car that fits you, that you want, that when you drive out of there, you're happy. You're ecstatic. You got rid of the other car, and now you're in something that you feel great about driving out of here. Not something that, well, this is what your budget probably is going to fit, or they even try and stretch it where, oh, this is a little out of what you want. You could get this for this much, and let me see if I can work on that payment. Yeah, whatever. Don't deal with any of that crap. Just go here. Check out my boys there at Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. That's right, Joe. Mohawk Honda. I mean, I love that place. I go there, I get my oil changed, everything.
Yeah, and it's funny because
service.
I just recently drove by there.
Yeah.
I know you work down that way, but I just recently drove by there to go do a fantasy draft, by the way. And in passing, it's no lie. I mean, they got the most inventory I've ever seen any kind of dealership in the Capital Region have. I was actually surprised when I go by because you hear this all the time, like, oh, we have the best, we have the most, we're there for you, that type of thing. But then when you drive by, it just goes to show you that they're not lying. They definitely have the most inventory. It is absolutely insane how many cars they have compared to everybody else. It's not even close.
And
so
also, then down the road, they also have the repair shop, too. So if you have any kind of things like that, just right next to it is another building where they can handle your repairs. You've been in an accident, stuff like that. They definitely take care of you. Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. One other note, too, that's some news we wanted to bring up to you guys. We have it in a little bit, but Smoky Bones is going to be your home for Monday Night Football and Godzilla Media. That's where we are a part of right now. So Monday Night Football in the Albany region, the capital region here. If you're out and about Monday night, you want to check out some Monday Night Football, go to Smoky Bones. Godzilla Media would be there, either us or one of our other members here. Come out, say hi, enjoy the game, and have some fun.
Definitely.
At
Great
Smoky
barbecue.
Bones. Oh, yeah.
Great
definitely.
stuff. Great food
Dude,
there.
the TV's right
It's
there
amazing.
at your
Yeah, they got TVs all over the
booth
place.
and everything,
Yeah.
every time, too. It's awesome.
Good
All right,
times.
so we've been going through the last week. We did the whole AFC, and we picked our division predictions here, our leaders. So this week, right before the season gets started here, we're going to dive into our NFC predictions. And then next week, we're going to get geared up for the season. Then we'll be really excited then.
Super excited.
So we're going to start off right now here with the NFC East. Now, Joe, let's take a look at your picks and what you have for the NFC East here.
NFC East, I got the Washington football team ended up taking this division. I mean, we've seen what they could do last season just on defense. And their biggest weakness was the offensive side of the ball. They definitely improved tenfold going into this season. They were lacking in receiving help. They had Terry McLaurin. What did they do? They go out and they sign Curtis Samuel. They got some young studs behind him that are up and coming, looking to make an impact. And then Antonio Gibson at running back, a guy who's coming back from injury, looks to really kind of show out this season what he can do for the whole year. And all the offensive linemen that were hurt last year, all back healthy again, and they add Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's right, the man with the magic plan to come into Washington and hopefully escalate that offense going for this upcoming season. Behind them, I have – what did I have? I have
What? Who do you have next?
I got the Giants.
You have the Giants next.
The Giants, listen, they made a lot of improvement. We saw how good they were last year on their defensive side. They were a little bit lacking on offense because, they didn't have Barkley. They didn't have any deep weapons on the wide receiver at the wide receiver position. But what they did have is improving team, especially on defense. They looked big time in adding guys like Adoree Jackson to fill a cornerback role and other players to make this defense even better. And on offense, they bring in Kenny Galladay. They have Darius Slayton back once again, Sterling Shepard. They draft Kadarius Toney, looking to make big improvements here. Their offensive line's got to step up big time this season in order for them to get a little bit farther. And really, everything hinges on their quarterback. He cannot afford to make turnovers, cannot afford to make bad mistakes. This team could contend for this division, but it all depends on Daniel Jones and what he can do this season. And then the Eagles, listen, the Eagles that were heavily banged up last year. Now that they're returning, they've decided that they're going to roll with Jalen Hurts as their quarterback. They have a couple of young receivers in Devontae Smith, who they drafted this past draft, and Jalen Reagor the year before. looking to come back, make an impact with both tight ends, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert returning as well. Miles Sanders. The defense got improved. They're healthier. So I feel like they're going to end up there somewhere in the middle of the pack there. And, yes, you might be surprised to see the Cowboys on the bottom for me. And here's the reason why. Yeah, despite Dak coming back. But, listen, Dak isn't coming back 110% just yet. He still what sounds like he's still having a little bit of issues with his throwing shoulder, and it might bleed into the middle of this year, which kind of concerns me a little bit of his durability coming in this season. Not to mention behind an offensive line that was heavily injured last season, isn't the most reliable and dependent coming into this year. So they didn't really make a whole lot of improvements. And with these guys returning, like a Tyron Smith, who really hasn't been in the lineup that much the past 3 seasons, that's a little bit concerning for me. Despite Ezekiel Elliott being healthy as an ox, ready to take the workload here, and all the receiving weapons that they have, defensively, they got a little bit better in the linebacking core. Defensive line, I'm still not buying it. Secondary, I still need to see something from them. And because of all that, I think that the Cowboys will surprisingly be at the bottom at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, I think a lot of Cowboys fans are going to be very upset with whether you pick that too. Eagles fans, but yeah, I mean, that it could go either way with this division. That's the thing about this division. I mean, you see it year to year. It's always kind of terrible and murky, and you're not
never
sure.
know.
People make late runs at the end, and it's really tough to pick this one. So, I mean, we're throwing it out there, see if it sticks. Most likely, we're both wrong or whatever, and it's something completely different. Who knows? That's the thing about the NFC East. We got Michael Guerrero in the house with us tonight. He's just stopping and saying hi. He goes, he's picking it. He said this last time he was on here. He goes, Giants over the Donkeys here, week 1. I hope so. But again, looking at that offensive line in preseason where they didn't even get a lot of starting time, it looked pretty porous. And Andrew Thomas looks like he's just another swinging door again. And it reminds me of the time when we had Eric Flowers back there. So I'm afraid a little bit, when you see, Von Miller and Bradley Chubb maybe come pressuring Daniel Jones from that side. So, and that's the thing about this Giants team is Daniel Jones was pressured, I think, maybe the most, last year, and hit a lot. And that's it. When you want to say he's on a bubble year, like he has a prove-it year, he's got to get it done and show what he can. It's really difficult when you've got guys on you after a few seconds here. So, I mean, it's hard to make yourself look spectacular.
I mean, it's also tough, too, for that to even judge the offensive line last season because of injuries. I mean, they were missing like 2 or 3 starting caliber linemen from the big part of the year. So, I mean, how could you expect Daniel Jones to have time? You know what I mean? Hopefully, they can gel a little bit faster than what they did in last week's preseason game. And you look at and just like Andrew Thomas, like, listen, he needs help just like any other lineman. You know what I mean? So he can't do everything. It can't be all hinged on him. The other guy's got to step up too. Will Hernandez coming back healthy. He needs to step his game up. The center, Shane Lemieux, is that who the he's got to step his game up. Everybody's got to play better than what they did last year. If they can do that,
the health concerns with Shane Lemieux, okay. They're not sure about. Mike Tackett's in the house. He brings up a thing about this offseason, the preseason that has been crazy with cuts and trades and things. The Shaun Wade trade, he says, is crazy. His junior year, Ohio State was considered a mid-first rounder. Then he stays his senior year, gets drafted in the 6th round, then gets traded during preseason from Baltimore to New England and almost gets cut. We see him in that one, I think it was a Giants game there, where he was hand grabbing a bit and then fell over. It looked like he kind of just flopped even. He says the NFL's crazy, guys, but the craziest story of the year and maybe the decade already happened. Bishop Sycamore. Coaching in Columbus. Before moving to Florida, I was skeptical at best, but when I heard about this school, in quotes, before shit hit the fan, can't wait for ESPN 30 for 30, and that will be most definitely happen. That's pretty interesting. An online school that found their way onto ESPN and playing a game featured on ESPN, and their coach now getting fired due to like fraud situations and something to do with even with the the injury list and stuff like that. Very interesting. Interesting story in right there in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. It's 2021, baby. So, I mean, anything can happen, you know? So let's take a look at here. My picks now. Mine are going to be a bit different here from Joe. I'm going with Washington football team again, just because I think they have a stronger defense out of anybody in this division. And then it kind of equals out with everything else because a lot of offensive questions about a few of these teams. Maybe not so much the Cowboys. Only question there is how healthy really is Dak Prescott, because it's, again, to keep it under lock and key. Not only did he have the foot injury, but now it's shoulders and could he be an injury-plagued guy that they had, like with Tony Romo before? It was decent, can get you to some good games, but if you're constantly getting injured and hurt like that, it could be detrimental to your team.
Yeah, I definitely worry about him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that offensive line has been issues for them. So, and then look at the defense. Is Dan Quinn going to be the guy to be able to turn this team around on defense? We shall see with that. So just overall, again, like I said before with this division, there's always a lot of questions here. It's always going to be kind of murky. We've got Gardner Minshew getting traded now to the Philadelphia Eagles. What does that mean for Jalen Hurts now? Is there pressure on him to perform? Have they totally bought into what he's selling? And again, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you said, is he going to be that guy to get you over that hump, that echelon, to beat a team? Like, say, if you make the wild card again, if it's not Tampa Bay that's right there, it's going to be one of those other stronger NFC teams. Maybe you face the Green Bay Packers if they happen to make the playoffs there. Or do they have enough to beat that team? Or, again, will they try and go for a Cam Newton, that might be in free agency? Does Tyler Heineke surprisingly step up and make some waves on that team?
I mean, he looked pretty good, the little bit of that we've seen of him on the field.
Yeah, it's enough. Even sometimes, though, we've seen a lot. We've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick dangle it out there enough to get you kind of teased and then kind of be like, fizz out. And then the Giants, we already talked about it here. Now they made some trades, too, after cuts and got Billy Price up in there. They've got Bredesen that they've traded for, too, as well, from Baltimore.
For depth,
again, trying to get some depth there, trying to figure out that offensive line, because that's what it really is solely upon. That will get you your pass protection, what you needed. Maybe a little more run blocking, too, as well. We want to keep Saquon Barkley healthy back there. It's too much now. We've heard about Saquon being is injury prone, his shadow, when he's only been to the major injury.
year.
And since that, he's been phenomenal. If he can get a little more solid offensive line that's not going to have guys in the backfield instantly once you have the ball, then you have some room to run. And I like what Booker has been able to do also in the preseason, and hopefully he can turn that into something in the regular season as well. And that defense is strong. It's hopefully next year here they can continue off of what they started last year. But as you're seeing with a lot of teams too, injuries are starting to plague this team a little bit early on. You're John Ross again, on and off. You've got Evan Engram that came off the field injured. We haven't heard too much about his injury, how long it might be.
Ingram's not going to be
Toney also, trying to balance his rap career instead of trying to play football.
What is with these guys?
I don't get it there.
The same thing for for Damon Arnett. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's another guy who was it seems like those type of guys that they're more worried about starting their rap careers instead of concentrating on your actual job that you have. Mm-hmm. Becoming a better athlete, a better NFL player. Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, without this, you don't have that opportunity. You know what I mean? To pour money into your rap career or whatever your hobby is.
Right.
So these guys got to wake up and hone in on their job. Listen, I would love to get paid millions of dollars to play a sport that I love. Didn't happen for me, but I'll take your place if you want. I got no problems. I'll be all focused, all in, working out all the time. I'll be all about it. These guys got to get the same mindset.
Absolutely. So if you take all those listening on the podcast who can't see the visual, I have the Washington football team first, then the Dallas Cowboys. They can get together enough to take second here. The Giants, again, I still have questions for myself, and I'm more of a hater on them myself, as a fan, where I'm not sure what they are. So I put them at third, and then the Philadelphia Eagles running up the bottom here with fourth, because again, I'm not sure what their true identity is for them right now. Yeah, who are they? Maybe it'd be like Scooby-Doo, pull off the mask. But all right, Joe, now let's move on to the NFC North. What do you got here taking the NFC North?
NFC North, I got Aaron Rodgers returned to Wisconsin, so we're all good there in Green Bay. Everything's all gravy. Their defense, they got a strong defense returning. Rodgers is there. How could you not like what they got going on there in Green Bay? So Green Bay, I got number 1 in this division. Number 2, I got the Minnesota Vikings. I just feel like they made some enough improvements defensively, and you got to love their duo that they have at receiver in Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. With Kirk Cousins there behind this offensive line that is definitely improved. Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback. I know he gets a bad reputation, but he's really not a bad quarterback, and with all the weapons that he has at his disposal, especially with Dalvin Cook in the backfield, I really think that they're going to push for this division this season, because it's got to be this season or bust, because Kirk Cousins' contract ends after this season. Then what does Minnesota do? Do they move on and try to find the next future quarterback? Do they try to re-sign this guy and pay him even more money, which is kind of crazy to me? But a lot of decisions have to be made after this year. So I got them pushing for the division this year, coming in second. Chicago, I got the Bears finishing third in this division. And honestly, part of this decision for me was because who's going to start a quarterback? As of right now, it sounds like Andy Dalton will be the guy, so I don't have a whole lot of confidence, honestly, in Andy Dalton leading this offense. He's got weapons to throw the football to, but they got a little weaker on the offensive line position. Both tackles look a little shaky. And beyond that, their defense, which is now once again healthy, they look to come back strong this year to help kind of try to carry this offense yet again. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I have them finishing third. And then dead last, I got the Detroit Lions. This is not in reference to Jared Goff being the quarterback. This has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do, but it's just really, honestly, it's the organization. Listen, it looks like they're trying to build something there. Now that they got Goff, they got some weapons, but defensively, they still just haven't been. They just haven't been equal to whatever offense that they've had, and it's a little concerning. They're still in rebuild mode. Like, now they have their quarterback, they got an offensive line, they have the running back in DeAndre Swift, and a couple of receivers, but really nobody's that spectacular. So that kind of concerns me. And then. This week they just released Brashad Perryman, who was penciled in as a starter, and now what does that tell you? Like, okay, they're not happy with Perryman, but like, who's going to step up and take a spot? So defensively, I see a lot of holes there. So I got them finishing last for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to go right along with you and on the same type of basis here and pick the same things. I've got Green Bay placing first, the Vikings here at second, the Chicago Bears at third, and then the Detroit Lions again. Detroit Lions building, we know this. The Bears, they're depleting as we go, I think, on defense, and then with the quarterback situation, like you said, so far it's Andy Dalton, will be Justin Fields. That might be a bit of a spark here to light under them to force, I think, the Vikings here and perhaps make a run at second. But right now, I think it's the Green Bay Packers division to lose at this point, and Kirk Cousins near the tail end of his tender there here with the Vikings, but they also had found something nice with Justin Jefferson last year, looking to try and keep that going a second year here with Adam Thielen on the other side. But again, that defense has been starting to grow some leaves as well.
Yeah, they got a little bit of talent that they're working with, and they just got to fully developed there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so far now let's take a look at the NFC South now, Joe, and see who you have for the NFC South.
Before I get to the NFC South real quick, I just want to give a shout out to all the supporters that we have for our channel on YouTube, Facebook, and anywhere podcasts are offered. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for the support. If you would like to, we would really appreciate it if you could even grow our name even bigger. Follow, share, like, do whatever you got to do. Comment down below any questions that you may have about your team, about fantasy football, about anything related to the NFL, of course. We will gladly help you guys out, and we want you to interact with us. Jump in. Mike Tackett did. Michael Guerrero did, to name a couple. But it's an interactive show. So sorry about the podcasters out there. Won't be able to participate. But other than that, feel free to drop a line down below. Let us know. We are on YouTube or Facebook, Football on the No Show. You can search us up on. Hit the subscribe button to lock it in on YouTube. Become a member on Facebook. And we're also over at Twitter at FB_no if you want to follow us even further. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Fantasy football season. We just did our draft last Friday night. We will be posting our lineup that we ended up drafting. Let us show you guys and tell us how you think we did. And then also you guys as well in the comments. Join our Facebook group, Football on the No Show. And again, leave yours out there. Let's talk about it. How do you think you did? Let's ask others how they think you did. Let us know. Let's have a lot of fun this upcoming season here because
definitely.
Let's turn the page on this.
Absolutely. We can both, bounce ideas off each other. What you think about this matchup this week, that matchup that week. And not to mention, for the first time, me and Jim were involved in this fantasy draft of ours. It was a 14-team league, which I've never done. I thought that was kind of crazy. The most we've done is 12. But 14...
Yeah,
that was something.
That was intense, but you know what? Luckily, it was done online, so there's a ticker going and a 2-minute. Everybody had to go through, but I think it ran really smoothly.
It was fun.
And, it was a lot of fun. All right, so Joe, and that reminds me too, and since we were talking and sharing and talking about our friends here, why don't you tell us about our friends here at Johnstone Supply?
Yeah, our boys at Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York. If you're from the capital region, if you're looking to upgrade your heating, your ventilation, your air conditioning, anything like that, our boys at Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York are your place to go to. This month they're offering up a Fujitsu ductless splits. We're talking about energy-saving, ultra-temp model for your home. Right now, they're carrying also the new J-Series VRF systems. These systems will be more efficient, flexible for any setup that you may have at your home. Plus, in stock, they have the Westinghouse made by Fujitsu for the more basic, cost-efficient option. For more information, give them a ring, 518-272-5922. That's 518-272-5922. And you can also visit them on 6th Avenue in Troy, New York, or call them up and talk to one of our boys, Tom, James, or even Kevin, and tell them that you heard about Johnstone Supply from us right here at Football on the No from Godzilla Media.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. We really appreciate you guys supporting us and Johnstone Supply and Mohawk Honda and Buck Environmental Solutions. But let's get back now to our picks here. What do you guys do? Throw them out there, too, in the comments. I see you guys are watching here. What do you think for your picks for the divisions? Throw them out there, too. Whether you agree with us or not, too, throw
Mine
it out
are
there.
terrible.
We don't care.
I'll tell you that right now. I don't even like my picks.
So, there you go.
I don't like them.
So let's move it on to the NFC South. Let's take a look. Joe, what do you got?
NFC South, how could you not go with the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they haven't even lost anybody? They didn't lose any free agents. I was absolutely shocked. I thought for sure Shaq Barrett was on the move. I thought for sure, Chris Godwin was going to be on the move. I thought for sure that they were going to lose a couple of pieces. But not only did they manage to maintain everybody and keep them in wraps, they're looking to make another run. So, how could you bet against them having basically the same team?
Boom.
Tampa Bay, I got winning the division. And then after that is kind of where it kind of gets a little tricky because there's a lot of different changes made in this division. You got Carolina Panthers now. I got them finishing second as of right now. They got Sam Darnold. Yes, they got the quarterback that everybody used to like to joke about as a New York Jet. I think he's going to get for the first time. I feel like he's going to have all the opportunity in the world with better weapons, a better offensive line, and what the heck? You got Christian McCaffrey right behind you now too. So plenty of support offensively. And why not? And then you got a young, up-and-coming defense that is only getting better the last couple of seasons. So I just think that this team overall is not only very young because they average the age of 24 years old. I think they're the second youngest team in the league on average. But also they're growing together. So this team could potentially be amazing in the next 2 to 3 years. But I feel like they're going to push for this division as soon as this year. I don't think they'll necessarily win it at the end because Tampa Bay is just stacked. But I think that they could easily make a push, and maybe, who knows, maybe wild card might be in the future. We'll have to wait and see. And after that, I got the New Orleans Saints finishing third. Yes, the New Orleans Saints, listen, no more Drew Brees. So it's going to be like, we already seen that Jameis Winston is now designated as the starter, much like we kind of predicted. And Taysom Hill is still going to fill that gadget role that he used to have when Drew Brees was there. So this team could look very different offensively. The only problem that they have right now is that Michael Thomas will be gone what looks like for probably the first half of the season, which is a big loss. But beyond that, they have a nice, young, upcoming stud of a kid at wide receiver, Marquez Callaway. I'm telling you right now, watch out for this kid. He is going to light it up all year, even when Thomas comes back. So there's a lot of nice things to follow with this Saints team. But I feel like for me, defensively, they lost some players. Offensively, they lost some players. And now with the change of quarterback, I really don't know what to expect from the Saints. I still think they're going to, obviously they're going to win some games and everything, but because of the uncertainty, I got to kind of have them finishing slating in third right now. And last but not least, I'm sorry, my brother's an Atlanta Falcons fan. I have them finishing last in the division, and it's what it has to go with is because defensively, nothing's really changed. Yes, they got a new defensive coordinator. They got AJ Terrell returning, who was out last season. He's returning now in his second year. Hopefully, he can make a difference at cornerback for them. And a lot of the same guys are still there, right? You got Deion Jones, you got Grady Jarrett, to name a couple. But beyond that, I don't think they're a complete defense yet, and they're still got to rebuild that side of the ball. So because of that, and offensively for the Atlanta Falcons, listen, Julio Jones is no longer there. They are relying on Calvin Ridley, who I think could definitely handle himself as the number one receiver. He's going to come out like gangbusters this year. And not to mention, don't sleep on this guy. Fantasy owners, pay attention. Russell Gage opposite Calvin Ridley. He looks to cash in this year in fantasy as well. And Mike Davis at running back, underrated guy. I think he's going to do very well for Atlanta. But unfortunately, I got Atlanta finishing last.
All right, Mike Tackett joins us here tonight again, and he's got his picks out here. Joe says he can't wait to be wrong.
Me too, Mike. Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. So he says for the NFC East, he's got Washington football team, Dallas, Giants, Philly. He agrees with me there. Okay, the North, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit. He agrees with us there as well. And what else he have? He has the West, Seattle, Arizona, L.A., San Francisco.
Oh, he's got San Fran last.
Oh, that was the West. Sorry, the West. And then the South, he's got Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina. All right, now he says AFC. Now, East is Buffalo, Miami, New England, and the Jets. I think that's what you had said, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
not sure
that's
yet at what point.
that's all right. We're just
the North, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. He's got the West, Kansas City, Vegas, the Chargers, and then Denver. He agreed with you there. And then finally the South, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and the Houston Texans. The AFC Championship, he's going further than that. The Buffalo Bills over the Kansas City. Woo! Wow, there you go. Kansas City Chiefs and the AFC Championship team. So it's going to be Buffalo there. NFC Championship, Green Bay over Tampa Bay.
Wow. I don't know about that.
Wow, look at this guy. Joe, he's a Green Bay fan too, so, I mean, you got to see where it's coming from.
Let him go. Let him have that. Listen, you got 1 year with Aaron Rodgers. It's got to count, right?
Yeah, well, he's got it. And that's what he says. He goes, Green Bay over Tampa Bay. Right there to get to the Super Bowl.
And then Green Bay
over Buffalo. Rodgers leaves Green Bay hoisting the Lombardi. Yes. There you go.
That would be a storybook ending if I ever knew one.
Yeah. That's what he's hoping. That's what any Green Bay fan could be hoping for right now at this point, right?
Got to shoot for the stars there.
Anything can happen. We've seen things like this happen before. He agreed with us on a few of our picks there, so that could be bad or it could be good too as well.
We could all be wrong together.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen stranger things happen. But mine's a little different. from what you have here, and I'm going with Tampa Bay, of course. So we're gonna see that. And I went with the Saints here too, just because again, I like the Sean Payton coaching tree and how it happens and what he does. And we've seen Jameis Winston kind of take a step forward with this team now that he has the full reins of the team. How is it going to go? Because we've seen him be a leader for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and vocally, get a little weird with the eating
really
W's
weird.
and everything and stuff.
Really
How
weird.
much of that is even toned down? Because also when in Tampa Bay, he was shoplifting like crab legs and
that
everything,
was in college.
and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he was a little out of there. So let's see. It looks like he's maybe turned that leaf. He has won the starting job, even in my eyes, too, because that last game that he played really well. And like you said, hitting Callaway on some of those passes deep, they were nice and right where they needed to be. Putting it on that deep ball, something that Taysom Hill doesn't really have. He's more of a short game and run quick.
Gadget guy. He's a gadget guy.
So he's kind of won it in my eyes. And I just think for the Carolina Panthers, I think, again, it's a feel it out kind of thing with this team, for me at least. Not sure exactly where they're going. I would like to see Sam Darnold get better and kind of shut down all the haters that we had here in New York when he was with the Jets. Have a different scenery, work with Robbie Anderson and others out there to get better. And also having Christian McCaffrey as your running back there too as well doesn't hurt, in that young coach of Matt Rule. So I'm excited for them, and that's why with this I'm putting them in third. It could go either or though, or second and third flip flop. But I'm agreeing with you on the Atlanta Falcons. I think it was even before, I think, losing Julio Jones. I think we've kind of seen this team kind of trend downwards. You can only do so much here with just airing it out as much as you could without a running game. They've been struggling there, but like you said, Mike Davis, we really like what they have here. But I think it's kind of like a down year, and hopefully they can bounce back and return to what they were before. But it's really tough when you've got teams that are just as competitive like the Panthers here, the Saints, and the Buccaneers here, who are not going away. So
no, and the Falcons, to be fair, I mean, offensively, I think they can compete with anybody. Mm-hmm. Defensively, I think that's where you've seen a lot of more holes, and they still need to do a lot more rebuilding there. And that's kind of why we both have them at the bottom of the division. It's not necessarily because we think that they're a bad team. It's just they still got some things to work out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, what did I say? Mike Tackett he had Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, and then he thinks Carolina is going to finish last in that one. So we'll see what happens with that. But now, finally, we're going to move on to the NFC West, and Joe, take it away. What do you got?
Well, for the West, it's a mess. I to be honest with you, this is an absolute mess. I was basically rolling the dice to pick placement here. I really don't. This is probably never going to end the way anybody thinks it's going to end. A lot of changes have been made across the board with this division. You got I have the Cardinals finishing first based on potential. Like they did a lot. They made a lot of moves and a lot of really good moves. Right now, I mean, when you got a pass rushing tandem like Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, that's scary. Not to mention sprinkling a lot of the young up-and-coming players they got on that defense and adding better corners. What's not to like? The only problem now that I'm realizing as I'm talking is that Malcolm Butler is retiring. Mm-hmm. So a guy that they signed in free agency to take over one of those corner spots is now retiring. So hopefully they either got the next guy up mentality, or maybe they have their eyes set on somebody else via trade or maybe a free agent pickup that they might be able to bring in to help fill that void. But nonetheless, a lot of upside with this team. The 49ers, I got them second. Listen, we've seen what they could do with just Jimmy G and a healthy offense and also with a healthy defense. This defense was injured last year. Same thing with the offensive line, and receivers were in and out of the lineup week to week. But now it looks like everybody's healthy. Everybody's ready to go. Nick Bosa is back, baby. So there's a lot to love about this Niner defense. And then to go with that offensively, here's the thing: is it looks like Jimmy G is going to be the starter, but what I witnessed in preseason, especially the last preseason game, is they had not only had Jimmy G play, but they had Trey Lance play also, like kind of like rotating quarterbacks, series to series or certain downs. They had Trey Lance in versus Jimmy G. So I wonder if this kind of philosophy is going to follow them into the season, if they're going to use more like a dual quarterback scenario this upcoming year, which usually doesn't work out in the NFL, but we'll wait and see. At the very least, it'll keep everybody off balance, right? So I got the Niners finishing second. The Rams, I feel like they lost too much on the defensive side. I don't think people really realize that. Like, oh, they still got Donald. They still got Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, but they lost one of the best safeties in football back there, and John Johnson III. They don't have him. Opposite Ramsey, they lost their corner. They got a young guy that hopefully can lock it down on the other side. So there's a lot of what ifs, especially at linebacker. So I think a lot of changes have been made with the Rams, which is why I have them going a little, falling back a little farther. I do love their offense, though, so I think that would be the one upside of them. I got them finishing third. And the Seattle Seahawks, listen, this is not to dog the Seahawks or anything. If you go back 3-4 years in a row, there's been a different division winner almost every single season. So this could really flip-flop. It could change. I mean, a lot of things. I don't cement these picks in at all. But I got Seattle Seahawks finishing last. Listen, KJ Wright is still out there in free agency. I wonder if he'll come back. If he comes back, that'll definitely help improve this defense. But there's some players that are missing. Defensive line does not strike fear in anybody's hearts. I don't think they got better there. I think they got a little weaker with KJ Wright not being there at linebacker, even though they got some young up-and-coming players. And offensively, it's kind of the same thing. It seems to me like Seattle's offense always bails out the defense a lot of the time. So I don't know how much longer they can do that. So I think that the Rams and Seahawks are kind of battling this kind of position out. But in the end, I got Seattle kind of faltering there, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Again, when we look at Mike Tackett, he's
so
got
crazy.
Seattle winning it, and then he says the Cardinals, then the Rams, and then the 49ers. So it's anybody's guess. This team, again, this division's going to be really tight, and we might get a couple teams that make the playoffs out of this one as well. We've seen stranger things happen, too, with this. But let's take a look at my picks here. Mine are a bit different as well, but I'm gonna go with my gut here too on the Arizona Cardinals as well, and just say second year now again with this offense going. Kyler Murray getting better, getting some other weapons too around there too. And again, in his defense. So I think they're going to take a step forward here and take this division now that some of these other teams have like some other type of issues with like Matthew Stafford coming in now. Like you said, the Rams losing a little bit on defense. The 49ers, what are they going to do? Well, are they going to go Jimmy G or Trey Lance again? Is it going to Jimmy G? And then everybody's been calling for his head once he makes a few too many mistakes or whatnot. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals here, and then I'm going to sneak in the Los Angeles Rams here. I just think they're going to do enough. I think Matthew Stafford just alone, I think, is enough to get this team a little further over the edge. And you even saw this team last year with what they had. Were able to sneak in and backdoor into this playoffs too as well and make a pretty decent run too. So it's they're a very surprising team, and you can't always count out Sean McVay here. I think he always has something up his sleeve, and I think this is a great position for Matthew Stafford to be in. The 49ers, again, that defense coming back nice and strong and healthy. Hopefully they can keep it together. They're always going to be running the football back and forth. Like you said, Jimmy G right there, but then Trey Lance. I think if they do make the switch to Trey Lance, that potentially could be a whole nother animal for them that could surge them further up in this division. So that could be pivotal for this. That's why I'm kind of questioning what's going on there. So again, I'm sitting those type of teams for me back at third because they can make that jump, here and there. But then the Seahawks, again, for me, it's the same old song and dance. They tried to help out the offensive line here, but I think it's going to be Russell Wilson, again, trying to do the best he can to get this offense going. And if you can contain him, then that's pretty much it, and that's tough to do even, but he's going to get his. But we saw a little bit last year on an MVP run and then kind of stifled a little bit always taking pressure, and I see that a little bit this year. And not to say that they're going to suck, like you're saying here, happen to be last in this division, but it's a very tight division. And
it's a tough division to pick,
gonna be,
for sure.
So it could even be up and down. So
right.
Who knows? And again, what do we know? This is what we think here. It could be completely different. Injuries come in play. COVID could possibly come into play again with this season. We're not sure. So a lot to be said.
We're hoping not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of things going on.
Let's get back to real life.
Yeah, Mike Tackett says, today's alternative news headline, Bucks named a 44-year-old former 6th-round pick, their Week 1 starter, over former 10th overall pick, Blaine Gabbert. Let's hope Tampa Bay knows what they're doing. I mean, that's good. I love that. It just
yeah. Good old Tom Brady is
not humor there. I like that because
that's funny.
Imagine if they did kind of, that's what a headline would be if it wasn't Tom Brady and you're like,
yep,
you're going with this guy instead.
How could they?
How about Blaine Gabbert too, though? I mean, always getting that. He's kind of that quarterback that's, again, kind of been set into a starting role at times when he had to and done okay to get some teams going, but never really shined either as well.
I mean,
he's a good, solid backup, I think.
For Blaine Gabbert, the little bit of time that he's actually been given, listen, he was pretty successful with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. He came in the league there, and he did well. But they just didn't have a surrounding cast around him at the time. They were still kind of trying to figure things out, trying to build up for it. But then there reaches a point where a franchise with a new coaching regime comes in, and it's not their guy. So he ends up getting casted out and goes elsewhere and trying to go from backup to try to become a starter, and then just ends up just team to team, just kind of is not their guy. You know what I mean? Like he's being brought in as a backup, and usually when you start to follow into that kind of train of position, it's like you're stuck there. You know what I mean? It's like purgatory for a quarterback. So unfortunately, Gabbert really hasn't had a chance to shine as the starter with a good team around him. And for Blaine Gabbert, listen, he's landed in the perfect position as a backup. Listen, Tampa Bay, Gabbert's not that bad of a quarterback. We've seen flashes with the 49ers, how good he could be, how good he potentially could be. Now he's with Tampa. He's learning from the best now. So with Tom Brady there, kind of teaching him, maybe showing him a few pointers he didn't realize to improve his game. And what's to say, like, when Tom Brady is done, like, it could be by the end of this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe we all heard Tom Brady say, I want to play till I'm 45. Well, he's 44. He's going to be 45. Mm-hmm. And does that mean, like, I thought for sure that Tom Brady might have gone out last season because he was on top. He won another chip, another Super Bowl ring, and he could ride off into the sunset. You know what I mean? One of the most successful quarterbacks in NFL history. But I'm surprised that he decided to come back, because it is extremely hard to make it back to that Super Bowl, the back-to-back seasons. And not only that, but also to win it on top of that. So, I don't know. Maybe it could work out for Tom. Maybe he gets back there, wins another one, and then rides off at 45. So we'll see.
Who knows? We shall see. Again, when everything gets done, it's not over, and he's one of the toughest competitors out there. I'll give him that much. But that's it for our show tonight. We really appreciate you guys joining us with us tonight. Again, next week it's going to be we're going to do the pick'ems. That competition's coming back. I mean, the NFL season starting. We're trying to book some live shows coming up forward in the next season too as well. So look out for that. Next week, I'm bringing back Ask Siri too as well. That segment's coming back. And don't forget, also we got the In the Know fact of the day. I'm going to be bringing that stuff back too as well.
It's about time.
It's about time. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got a good one coming up for you guys. I almost pulled it out this week because one of those guys happened to be cut from a team this year that I had a fact about. But maybe I'll throw it out there still next week. So we'll find out. But thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you guys like and share the video, join our group, and also subscribe to us on YouTube, Football on the No Show. Hit the like button and subscribe and the notification bell. All right, thanks a lot, and we will see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.